courage. Focusing on the lives, experiences, and viewpoints of motherlode women, the show features a rotating cast of 4 women of all ages and from all walks of life. Quick, upbeat, and fast-paced with a variety of topics, this one-hour show will be aired live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30 a.m. Tune in, it's just between us.
Good morning and welcome to Just Between Us, a ladies' talk show that we've been doing here since 2002, I believe.
No, 4.
2004?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 2004, Pat said.
I think it was, because that's when I started.
Okay. Oh, well then, well, maybe so.
10 years?
Anyway, a good 10 years we've been here. Good morning, I'm Susie from Volcano.
I'm Sandy from Jackson.
And I'm Pat from Zeta Creek.
All right, girls.
And we haven't aged a bit.
Oh,
Nope.
yeah, well.
Yeah.
All right.
No, we look younger.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
All righty.
Give me 2 pens.
All right, there we go.
All right.
Number 3.
And pick me 2 here. I'll just...
Okay.
Okay. Being a man.
Number 3.
Yeah. Do you feel that men today have been stripped of their masculine and macho?
Mm-hmm.
And another one is, hello, religious freedom. Roll me.
6.
Do you find we are going in a negative direction where religion is concerned?
Well, two negativities here.
Yeah, I know.
We're off to a roaring start.
Doesn't that make a positive?
Okay, we're going to take a short break. Stay with us, because we're going to be right back.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. Back to Just Between Us.
Welcome back to Just Between Us. Sandy, our first one is
Being a man.
Okay.
Do you feel that men today have been stripped of being masculine and macho?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we can go on another topic.
Go on, Patty.
I think men, quite frankly, I think men have had a difficult time in a lot of ways. And I listened to one of my brothers when he was out of law school, he was dating, and he dated since high school, but when he started thinking, okay, I might like to get married now and so forth, and he said, and that was in the 80s, so he said it was the most confusing thing to him, because he said he went on one date, and he went and opened the car door for the woman. This was their first date, and she looked at him and she said, "How dare you do this for me? I am a perfectly capable person of opening my own door." And he goes, "Oh, this is a great way to start."
Well, you know what he should have done?
He should have
watch
slammed
this. He should have shut the door. Said, "Get out on the curb for a second."
Right.
Shut the door
and driven off.
And driven off,
Yes.
and said, "Okay, open up your own
So
door and
he
date
s-
yourself."
He said, "Okay, I'm sorry," and he said, "I didn't."
What a gentleman.
I was taught to do this by my dad and things like that. So he said, then obviously that didn't work out. So about 3 or 4 weeks later, he meets another woman and he invites her out, and he goes, okay, now see, he's in his mid-20s. So then
he's not going to open the door now.
They walk out, and he goes around and he gets in the car. He went up, knocked on the door and said, "I'm here." And then he gets in the car and he looks, and there's nobody in the front seat next to him. So he rolls down the window and she says, "I'm waiting." And he said, he says, "I don't know what to do." Because he says, I have one woman, and she says, "I can't believe you are so rude as to not open the door for me."
If I was him, I would have turned gay. I'll be honest with you. That'll get a blow-up doll. I would have said, "You know what? These women are too hard to deal with."
But I think that it went so far that men were so confused about, like, now what am I supposed to be doing? And so they either do nothing and get in trouble, or they do something and they get in trouble. And my brother used to say, "I can't win."
And he's right. He can't.
Well, look at men today. They're been taught to, especially younger men today, and they've been taught to show their feelings. They've been taught that if they don't show their feelings, there's something wrong with them. So now, look at all the people that cry. Look at all the men that are crying all the time. I thought Bush was bad. There's even guys that are worse out there.
Well, I think
You
that
know,
I think that there are some men, and you know what?
Some
It
people are just emotional,
It
but
shows
it's-
a good sensitive side to him, to them,
yes,
that they have
but
those
they can
feelings.
go a little bit overboard.
Well, I
It's-
mean, when you throw yourself on the table and go berserk, yeah.
Yeah, there's times to cry
And
and
there's
there's
times-
times to not cry.
Right.
And when you're facing a camera and you're trying to be, in charge of something,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't. I mean, yes, people are emotional. There's horrible things out there.
Well, I
people see,
remember at
but-
9/11, Bush teared up and whatever, and I don't blame him for
well,
that.
No,
Yeah,
but there's times and place. But I mean, man, I do believe there's a woman who wrote a book for how to for raising young men, for raising boys, to let boys be boys.
Yeah,
Boys are not
please.
allowed to play with GI
Please.
Joes anymore. They're not allowed to play cops and
Oh,
robbers.
they want to wait
they
all
can't-
this equipment on the playground.
Everything's
and-
PC now, and I mean, boys are made differently from girls. They have different thought ideas. They just are physically and chemically and mentally different from girls. They don't think like girls.
And they shouldn't have to.
No, but
It's
they're
like-
told
it's
that
like
they're
a co-
supposed to
okay,
now.
it's like we even discussed a couple weeks ago. In commercials, when you see the kids with dad and mom leaves and the house is a disaster because dad can't do anything, or the wife makes the husband, she rolls her eyes. I don't like the dumbing down of the father
Well,
figure and the husband figure. I don't like it. I think it's wrong. If they did that to women, they would go totally
Bonkers.
bonkers
Yeah,
with
exactly.
the PC thing. And what I think that they've done is that it's not so much as it's like making him a joke.
It is, and look at how many. Well, we don't need a men to raise children.
Sure you do.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I had a great father figure. My father was actually, but I didn't really go after a man that was identical to my father.
Right.
But my father was a great father. My dad didn't work because he had a heart condition, so my mom was the breadwinner. I spent more time with my father than my mother. But,
Sure.
But I had a great father figure, and because of him, I had a more solid idea of what men should be.
Well, I think that the problem today is if you speak out and you stick up for a man, it's that, oh, well, you're setting feminism back 20 years. Well, good, set it back
Right.
another 20. Because for me, I think it's terrible the way that men are portrayed. And believe me, there are single men out there raising their children that turn out beautifully.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to move on,
Okay.
unfortunately.
God, I'm getting worse. Religious freedom. Do you find we're going in a negative direction where religion is concerned?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's that topic.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think we've become too PC. I think we're using religion as a tool. I think this word, we have to tolerate other people's religion, but then don't you dare bring up your religion in a classroom or history or anything.
Well, the thing I feel is if you're going to go and basically ban one religion, you got to ban
Ban
them
them all.
all.
Absolutely.
Why do we have to have Muslim studies? In
I don't know.
colleges, why do we have to? But they don't have a Christian Judeo study. Unless
if
you're
you
taking
want-
a little religion
if you want to
divinity
know
course.
about Islam, Muslim, whatever, study it on your own. Because if you're not going to teach about the Jewish religion, and if you're not going to teach about
Or
Christianity,
Buddhist or any of the
Buddhist
other.
or whatever else, then you know what? Take your dog and pony show and get out of the classroom.
Yeah. Why is crosses not tolerated, but foot baths are in
Yeah,
colleges now?
Please.
Well, the thing is, it's not completely true because there has always been religious studies in college. I mean, I know this because when I was a freshman in college, I took the Bible as literature. And the one thing that I can say, and I find this really interesting, is I have some good friends who are Jewish. And we lived up the street from them in LA, and she started talking to me, and we started talking about the Bible. And I thought this was kind of funny. But I mean, and because they were very Jewish, and they went to temple all the time and so forth, and I started talking to her about the Bible and so forth, and she said, "How do you know all of this? This is this is the Bible." And I laughed and I said, "Do you not think that Christians that they don't study the Bible?" I said, you guys just left off and we continued. And I said,
Well,
you
that's
have to start.
interesting.
But the thing is, and so the idea, and when I studied the Bible as literature, I mean, it was at Cal Poly, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's a state college, but it was very interesting because I spent 9 years in a Catholic school, so I knew a lot about this
But
already.
what you're talking about is college, which I think is very, very
Yeah.
interesting, and they do, you can take that. But when you're younger, I mean, for instance, when you in New York one time they were showing the, is it the Hasidic Jews, the ones
Yeah.
that have the long hair and stuff and the beard? I thought it was ZZ Top. Huh?
No,
that's-
the Hasidic Jews.
Hasidic Jews,
I thought it was
Sikhs are
ZZ Top.
Indian.
I thought it was ZZ Top, because they all look, the three
Yeah.
guys
Yeah.
look the same. But, you can joke about religion, you can have fun about religion, but boy, when you come into that Muslim thing or whatever, it's like you're supposed to tolerate, you're supposed to do everything. Look, even in Guantanamo Bay, they have a special chef for them. They have prayer rugs. They point
No,
the
they have
arrow
the
to
Quran.
the to
They
the
have the
east.
Quran.
They have the Quran. They have everything. Would they do that for somebody that was Jewish or Christian? No. What did they do
Well,
to Daniel
the-
Pearl?
well,
Did they give him a Bible before they beheaded him?
I
No.
know. The thing is, like in high school and stuff, they say you can't mix the religion going in, but you can talk about religion
It's
under
history.
under the First Amendment right. I mean, a freedom of religion
Absolutely.
right. You can talk about it as in relation to the Constitution, because it's a lot of the Christian Judea is written into the Constitution, so you should have a right to be able to talk about it that way. But a lot of schools do not even let you to do that anymore. They're trying to get it all written out of the Constitution. They want to redraft a new Constitution. This is a little thing that you wouldn't believe that's going out there, to redraft
Well,
and
look at
take
that guy.
all reference to God
Look
and
at that
anything.
man that was in Sacramento. He wanted to take "In God We Trust"
Just
off the coins.
Yeah.
It's easy. You know what you do? You turn around. You either pay by check or use your credit card. There's no "In God We
Oh,
Trust"
just get
on anything.
Bitcoin. Just get a Bitcoin.
I mean, what a nut.
Yeah, the thing is, we're supposed to be all tolerant of everybody, and people, especially on on the left side, says we have to be tolerant, but if you don't think like they do, then they're intolerant against you.
I mean,
And that's
one
what- that's
atheist,
what-
one atheist says one thing, and everybody's got to go berserk and cow down and
My-
to him. No,
The thing is, I went to get like you 9 years to Catholic school, right? And then I had it up to here, but I don't know if there is a God or not. However, I am not going to,
That's your belief.
That's
It's not
my
anybody's
yes,
business.
And you have the right
there's
to-
nothing I can do about it if there is or isn't.
Absolutely.
We're here, and if you do believe or if you don't believe, you're here. Make the best of it at this time.
okay, what we're going to do is we're going to use that as our free-for-all. We're going to continue that because I know you have things to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a free-for-all
Free-for-all
coming up and
one
another
more.
topic.
Okay.
Let me find out.
Okay.
Something written on here.
All right.
There's your free-for-all. And
Number 4.
when is enough enough?
Uh-huh.
What issue makes you say without fail, this is enough?
Okay, and then we
Okay.
have our free-for-all, and we'll continue this because I know you have things to throw in and other things, and like I say, religion and politics are hot topics, so we'll continue with that. Hey, we're going to take a very, very short break. Stick with us. We'll catch you on the flip side of 2.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. And now back to Just Between Us.
Welcome back to Just Between Us, and do you want to do that first topic first? And
Or-
then we'll go back?
Do you want to?
ahead.
Go ahead.
the
You want to
first
do the free-for-all? Let's do the free-for-all.
Okay.
So Pat, tell me what you think about with the religious overtones today, and they're using it as a political tool. I think, in my personal opinion, they're using it as a political tool. I agree with Sandy. If you have a certain belief, I respect that belief. It may not be my belief, but I do respect that belief. And I think that that's where the tolerance come in. I think that if you're comfortable enough with yourself and what you believe in, that you figure, okay, I don't believe in your religious beliefs. I don't believe in certain things that go along with your religious beliefs, but I respect the fact that you have freedom of speech and freedom of religion.
Well, I think that one of the things that you have to look at is that this is not something that has come up just now in the
No.
last 10 or
No.
15 or 20 years or 30 years. Every civilization since man began has been afraid of the unknown. Because the unknown represents something. Are they going to take something from me? Are they going to not let me do something? And so this has been going on for thousands of years. So we can't really say it's been in the last 20 years that this has all happened. And also, we are becoming more educated as a global entity, but there's a lot of ignorance in the world because they haven't been to schools like we have in the United States, in other places and things like that. And any time that somebody has not been educated in things, they're fearful of it. I mean, and it exists in this country as well.
Oh, of course.
Because
That's why sometimes we get into things where it crosses just being a prejudicial point of view into a racial point of view,
Well,
but see, the thing is, it isn't necessarily racial or political. It's fear of the unknown.
and Pat's right, because in some societies, especially in the Muslim worlds, like in Saudi Arabia and some of the other things, you're not even allowed, by penalty of death, to have a different opinion. There is, like in Saudi, there is no Christians are allowed into Saudi Arabia at all.
I thought they did have
no
a Catholic
Egypt.
church.
No, not in Saudi.
Who has, Iran or Iraq?
Egypt.
Egypt?
They have the Coptic, but now they're being persecuted. They have the Coptic Christians in over there, but in Saudi Arabia, no. Maybe in Syria. Syria had some allows some in Lebanon and some of these
in the Middle
others.
East they do have a Catholic church, and
But not in Saudi,
but not-
because I just heard on the news that no Christians whatsoever. You can't have.
But then we come back.
practice
But then we have to come back to the fact that their media is controlled. All forms
Well,
of media
yeah,
is controlled.
that's-
They don't know anything else but what they've been raised.
Yeah, but like I grew up my father was not Catholic. My mom was, so they raised me Catholic. However, I got very curious about other people's religions, so I went to a Mormon. I took Mormon services. I've been to Protestant services.
See, and I think that's great.
I thought of Judaism. I have friends that are Jewish, so I can talk, I think it would be beneficial for people if you're going to criticize something. First go into or
study their
other
religion.
Sure, I didn't, certain things didn't, like I said, I have a lot of questions about the Catholic Church.
Sure.
I'm no longer a practicing Catholic because I thought some of their things were a little archaic, in the church and stuff, although this new pope might be changing things around. But
Well, to give you an example, where I grew up, I mean, I spent the first 14 years of my life in Oklahoma. And for the first 7 years of my life, my dad was the town doctor in a very small town in the Bible Belt. The town was 1,000 people, and we were the only Catholics and the only Italians in the town. There were 4 of us. And the one thing that my mom and dad did, because even though these people were grateful that a doctor was coming in, it was very odd. I mean, they had been born and raised in the South, it was Oklahoma. And so they didn't know about Catholics. There were Methodists, there were Baptists, there were,
Pentecostals,
and all of these different things. So the first thing that my mom and dad did is that, and it was for me, but it was also for our family and the acceptance of the community. I went to Vacation Bible School. I went to the Baptist. I went to the Methodist. I went to all these different things. I was allowed to participate with the kids. I went to church with them at times. We always went to Mass on Sunday.
I think that's
But the thing is,
good.
but they wanted me to understand all these children that I was going to go to school with and things like that. And they also wanted to let the community know that they were not closed off, because, I mean, let's face it, I remember a story. The reason we did not wear uniforms is that when I went to school in Oklahoma City was that too many Catholic children in uniforms were attacked. by other children,
Right,
because
right.
we were different.
Right.
And then the other thing is the nuns used to tell us that when they were in the stores, that they were buying groceries, and people would walk up and say, "Is the reason you wear the head stuff is to hide your horns?"
Lord
But
have
see,
mercy.
that's uneducated.
Right.
Not educated as far as in school, but that's uneducated
Or
about
they thought
anything
the
else
nuns-
than what it is.
yeah.
Or they thought the nuns
Well,
shaved their
like the
head.
first time I went to the South, I never told
Right.
anybody I was where I was.
Sure. Okay, we got
You know.
we got to move on.
Next one.
Enough is enough. What issues make you say, without fail, this is enough?
I think one issue that I don't have tolerance for, and I say enough is enough, is the racism, using certain terms and stuff like that. I have no tolerance for any of that. I think it's wrong. I think it's terrible that people today have to, like we just talked about, religion or political views or being of a certain ethnic background or whatever. You get to the point where you say, enough already, okay? It's been done, it's been said, let's move on. If you can't move on, enough is enough for me, I'm not going to discuss it with you.
Yeah, that's about basically, it's been 100 and some odd years.
Yeah, I mean, come
give
on.
it a rest, you know.
Absolutely.
You tell me one basically ethnic group that has not had some sort of persecution,
Oh,
regardless of
absolutely.
your skin color. You
Being
know.
full-blooded Italian, I can tell you
Well, look at-
some of the names my parents were called. It was appalling.
Look what happened to the Irish when they first
A-
arrived
absolutely.
after the famine. And I mean, enough's enough, you know.
Well, but see, there again, it all goes back to
Uneducated.
you are afraid and you fear what you don't know or
Right.
understand.
yeah,
And
Now,
that's
and it's
and
what
it's-
you're taught.
Yes.
Well, and some of it's just brought down through generation to generation through generation, you know.
Now, what's really weird is that now I'm 67 years old, okay? I'm going to be knocking 68 pretty soon. My first doll.
God bless you.
I know. My first doll that I had was a black baby doll.
Was it?
Yeah, a black baby doll. And everybody used to say to my mother, "Where did she get that doll?" My mother said, "I bought it for her." She says, "I think it's cute." My mom and dad didn't see black and white. They saw people.
Yeah.
And that's the way. And going back that many years, you didn't see that because that's when there was racism.
But it was interesting because when my parents bought me my first dolls, they were about this long, and they were the rubber
Right.
baby dolls.
Right.
And I had one black one and one white one.
See?
And now there was no such thing as, there was no black people. Yeah, there was not one black person in the town we lived in.
Right.
And I think that's probably why my mom and dad did that. Because
They
and
wanted
so,
you to be-
And
No.
so, literally, I got these dolls before I was 1 year old, and they were the same exact doll, but one was black and one was white, and so therefore, I played with both of them equally. They had names and things like that, but my parents made sure that there was no distinguishing between one, and I swear they purposely did it where they were the identical. I mean, one wasn't bigger than the other, one wasn't made differently. You could tell that they were manufactured the same way, just different
Different
rubbery
Well,
plastic on the outside.
Like, see, where I grew up in L.A., you know, it was in the northeast section of Los Angeles, and so the kids I went to school with was a mixture of different Italians, Irish, you know,
Spanish.
you know, white and Spanish, Hispanics.
Yeah.
So I've never thought of Hispanics as being an ethnic group because they were the kids I played with.
Right.
And we were all the same, blue-collar workers.
But isn't it
You know,
amazing how
that
some
was-
people
economics was
some
exactly.
people will look at us in our age, and like I said, I'm the oldest one here, and say, "Oh, well, you were born and raised with racism and prejudice and this and that." No, because we all grew up. You
yes.
didn't grow up because where you lived in the South was a little bit different than where I lived.
Well, yes, because you realize that I lived in the state with the Jim Crow laws.
Right.
And the Jim Crow laws were repealed in Oklahoma in September of 1962, benefited by Charlton Heston coming to our town and lying in the, on the sidewalks, because one of my best friend's parents went to school with him in college in Illinois. But it was very interesting because, on the other hand, where we were never prejudiced, I had never been in a restaurant, a swimming pool, an amusement park, a bus station, train station, used the same drinking fountain. But my parents just basically raised us that we're all the same.
Absolutely.
And we had black people working in our house.
Absolutely.
And so I never ever really thought about this. But then, that they were any different than we were, except, nobody was different.
Skin color, that was the only difference.
Jewish people were not in prevalence in Oklahoma, but we had Jewish friends.
Right.
Yeah.
And
We
so,
have to, Alan's telling us we have to move on. So we have a free-for-all, and then we have,
Number 1.
Being politically correct. Oh, my goodness. Do you feel we have given up certain freedom of speech rights due to being politically correct? Well, we'll just segue right into it.
there we go. We're going to take a short break. We'll be
Okay.
right back. Okay.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. And now back to Just Between Us.
Really? Yo, really? Yeah. Welcome back to Just Between Us, not AM Live. I'm Susie from Volcano.
I'm Sandy from Jackson.
And I'm Pat from Sutter Creek.
Okay.
Being politically correct. I can see a theme today.
You betcha.
Do you feel we have given up certain freedom of speech rights due to being politically correct? Oh, sure.
I think we're afraid of freedom of speech because of being wanting to be politically correct.
I think we see it a lot more on people being afraid to say it publicly for fear of backlashing. You see people bending over backwards on television.
Oh,
you
yeah.
You see sitcoms and regular TV shows being so politically correct. It actually dates the show into a time period, and which I find is interesting for residual rights.
I think we've gone overboard.
It gone overboard. We're so afraid of being attacked, defamed, sued, and everything like that. That
being labeled either
racist
or prejudiced or whatever.
And a lot of people don't know the difference between being racist and prejudicial.
Right.
And that I actually wish somebody would start a movement of the non-political correct section.
Well, but then you're politically correct for only certain people, where if somebody else says something, they can get by with it, and that's different.
Well, the funny thing is, we cannot say something jokingly against a certain because of their race.
Right.
But they can say something.
It's like hate crimes.
It's like I remember one time I've been told they're going to slash my throat, and I would call it a white honky bitch, and all this stuff, but I could never retaliate or say anything because then I would be offensive. But they can't be.
But then certain words are not in your vocabulary, like they're not in mine and they're not in Pat's. I mean, I wouldn't think of using certain words.
No, but I can be called a racist, but they can't because I'm white and they're not. And that's where the political correctness thing just starts really freaking me out. Excuse me, I don't like somebody because I don't like the person,
not
their color of their skin,
or their religious beliefs or political beliefs.
But I get that label. I could get that label thrown at me if I say anything, and I think this has gone where it's affected everybody. Everybody's so afraid of being labeled nowadays.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to speak your own mind, and people actually alter it. And then when they get home, then they go, but they're not in public. Now
I know a person who sticks up for certain things or whatever, and in the heat of this person's anger, she turned around and called somebody a slur that is something that she is supposed to be totally in favor for and an advocate for. So, why are you being such a hypocrite? Why do you have to, in the heat of passion of you being angry, call somebody a name that refers to a certain lifestyle or whatever? Why did you do that?
Yeah, that's
You're a hypocrite. You are a hypocrite when you do that. I mean, if you have silence and you're not going to say, I'm not going to get into that. I don't know that much about it, or I have my personal beliefs, and finish it. I respect that. But when you get on your soapbox and you go on and on and on, and then the first time you get angry, you turn around and you just...
And anger usually anger usually reflects what you really believe in.
Yep.
It's like drinking. I've had people
bet.
say, well, you shouldn't feel offended by
'Cause they
that
were
person
drunk.
because they were drunk. And I said, alcohol is a great truth serum.
It's
Oh, yes,
it's
it
a
is.
tongue loosener.
Because I said, basically, you lose your inhibitions. And when you lose your inhibitions, you say what you really feel.
Yeah.
And I had a friend that she said, I never have thought about that. I always, when a friend of mine started talking like that, I just assumed, well, he or she had had too much to drink. And I said, well, that is the reason they were saying that, but you have to understand, you're telling me that person doesn't really feel that way, and I'm telling you that that's exactly the way the person feels.
Yeah, and how much did they have to drink to loosen their tongue, too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing gets me. I believe everybody has the right to speak whatever they feel.
I agree.
And I respect their right. I might not agree with them.
Right.
But give me the courtesy to allow me to speak what I feel and respect what I feel, even though you don't agree with me.
Absolutely.
Now, see, on the other hand, my mother used to say, if you don't have anything good to say, why not say nothing at all?
Now you say, if you have nothing good to say, call me and tell me first.
That's why that's what I get really angry about certain politicians. They coach their words, they're very careful what they say, and half the time it's not what they firmly believe. Come out, tell me what you really believe, I will evaluate you that way.
But you do realize nobody would get elected.
Well, I realize that, and maybe that's not
That's
a
not
bad thing.
Okay, speaking of that, now we're going to go into our second free-for-all. So we'll continue on the politically correctness thing, because we're talking about being politically correct. The other day I was watching, or was it yesterday, day before yesterday, I was watching some of the committee things that they were doing, some of the different things, and they were discussing certain things with Eric Holder. And he came out yesterday and did a conference, and he didn't actually come out and say, because he was black, what's his name went after him.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I saw that written up.
The thing is that we're getting to the point now is that we know that you are an African-American man, okay? You're not being judged on your skin, and they're not coming after you because of that. And I know there's people out there right now that are saying, oh, that woman is nuts. It's all about racism. No, it's not. You have not answered questions about Fast and Furious, about Benghazi, about the IRS, about the NSA. I mean, we can go on and on, okay? Take responsibility. Show people that you're not going to run behind and use your nationality or your political your political side or your religious side or whatever it is. Stop it. Be a man or a woman and come out and say what you mean. Don't pussyfoot around it.
Well, the thing that gets me with Holder is that he's using that, and he's done it before on some other things.
Constantly.
However, under Bush, we had a Hispanic attorney general.
Oh.
And he was basically ran out.
You bet.
And he never opened his mouth saying, you did it because I'm Hispanic.
Never.
And this is what gets me. If it's the left, it's because of my skin color. If it's the right, it's because you're just lousy.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, this just...
I'll tell you what we are doing now politically, in the correctness avenue. What we're doing now is we're getting to the point where if you open your mouth and say, you know what, I like this person as a person, but I don't like the way that they're doing their job. Oh no, that's not it. You're being judgmental because she's a woman and women should not be in that position, or she's this and that. They're already starting in with Hillary Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
What about the fact that, lady, I feel you stink. I feel that you never answered any questions on Benghazi. And what difference does it make is not a quote
Well,
that should come out of your mouth, because 4 Americans are dead and we still, they know who did it, but no one's done anything about it.
Well, the only thing you have to think about, I mean, I personally don't particularly like pretty much all politicians right now because they're, you know, I sit there and listen to them and okay,
We're
they're
too
not
divided,
really,
Pat.
they're not being honest. But
No.
then on the other hand, they have handlers who are telling them what to say and what not to say. And there's all of the hidden agendas. And so I first of all, I think to myself, what person in his or her right mind would want to be a politician now?
Oh, absolutely.
And the other thing is that they are also in the position now that you have to realize there is nothing that they can say that isn't going to offend some group.
Oh, of course.
And so I look at them and I'm thinking, I feel sorry for them. I wish they would say what they believe. But their handlers have told them, you believe this, and you believe this,
But
and
you
you
know,
believe
Pat-
it. And then it's kind of like, what do I say?
But you know,
Which
I
one should and-
I do believe that there are honest Republicans, Democrats,
Absolutely.
independents. There are people that are trying to do a good job. The thing is that they get overshadowed by this baloney that's going all the time.
You got to
The
understand,
smokescreens.
you can have all the good intentions when you first run, but then you get into the Washington machine, and that political machine
and
is so corrupt.
It's not just the Washington machine.
Well, no, you find it in say, Sacramento.
It's all
you
the
find them
way
in
down
different-
to,
Yeah.
there's a councilman in Los Angeles. He's still a city councilman, and he became a councilman when we lived there in the early 70s. And he's out in West LA, and our good friends knew him, and they were saying that it was, he saw what he was up against right at the beginning, because he said before he even got elected, there were people coming to him and saying, you won't get any money if you don't do this, and we want this agenda pushed through. And
Right.
while I do, he's never been indicted, he's never had any, I don't think had much about, but I mean, there was questions of him being mayor of LA at certain times. But it was very interesting because he told our best friends, he said, I wasn't even elected, and they were already coming
Sure.
to me
Well,
with,
look
and
at the
how
same
do you
thing
deal with that?
with Lee right now. Lee,
Yeah.
who pled not guilty. He is for gun control. I want gun control. I want this and that. Come to find out, he's out there running guns.
Oh,
He-
yeah.
but
yeah,
he's controlling them.
yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, he's
So
selling them to
did
the
he
wrong
lie?
people. No, we're going to take a short break, come back and hit you up with a hot topic.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. And now back to Just Between Us.
Talk about jury
Welcome
time.
back to Just Between Us, and we're getting ready for our hot topic. Ladies, you ready?
Ready.
I
Yep.
have to read this, unfortunately, because it's
It's
long.
long.
Earlier this week, a group of parents filed a lawsuit against Disneyland claiming that the park's new line policy for individuals with disabilities, okay? In the lawsuit, the families claim that the new policy is too restricted for people with disabilities such as autism. However, the line policy was changed after it was shown that the old system was being used by people without disabilities to cut in lines for many attractions. Any thoughts on this lawsuit? Well, people know, if you know anything about autism, you know that it's very difficult sometimes. Some of the kids can't stand in line for a long time, okay? And and even other children with sometimes with disabilities. So now I think what they're going to do, Alan, is you said they're going to give them a pass, and they can go and do other things and then come back and get in line. So,
But that's what they're complaining about. They want to jump the line right then and there.
yes.
They don't want to come back between 12 and 2 or
But the
something.
thing is what is the problem? If you see a parent with a child with it, I've been there. I mean, I live down there. Anytime there was a child in a wheelchair or any child with a disability or a grown-up, my kids and I would step out of line and say, no, you go first. We live down here. We can go any other time. But even if I was just down there, and as a tourist as them, I would be more than happy to let someone else go. Sometimes these children are so excited, and why make them wait in line? Let them go. I have no problem with it. I commend them for doing that.
Well, I find it very interesting, and I mean, I have children, my kids are in their 40s, and they have young children, and one of the things that I've even talked with them about is there is a great segment of parents today and people that are kind of in their 30s and so forth. They're a very entitled segment of the
course.
population.
Yeah, you're 100%
And
correct.
so now the autism thing, if you have known somebody with a child with autism, they can be almost impossible to control. And the thing is, we have friends who have, our kids have friends with who have autistic children, and it's very difficult to control them. The problem with the autism and the Asperger's and things like that, people don't understand it. The children are very brilliant.
They are.
90% of the time they've got
They are.
sky-high IQs. They don't process things, and they're very difficult to handle. You've got people in line who look at this child. This child is, talking articulately. They look normal. They don't have any outs. People are more concerned about people whose disabilities show.
Right. And we have to
And-
be tolerant and understand
Exactly.
that there are some disabilities that are not physical that you can't see on the outside.
Right.
And if this child has autism or Asperger's or anything
Well,
else, I see nothing
the
wrong with him
But
going.
the thing is, now, okay, I might be sounding cold and callous now, but if I had a child with that problem, and I have a nephew that's like that, and my theory is, okay, I'm going to get there when the gates open.
I hear you.
Okay, get in onto the rides that have the longest lines, like Space Mountain or some
Sure,
of the other things
sure.
in the Ventureland and stuff like that. Get them through fast.
Mm-hmm.
Get them in there early in the morning, but before all the crowd gets in,
Mm-hmm.
and then meander the park afterwards. Get them on their things, and then because you know how your child's going to react.
Right,
You know
right.
they won't be able to stand in line.
Right.
Let's get through the ones as much as possible.
And
But
I have found,
the park is very.
but haven't you found that a lot of people that are meeting these challenges with their children, they'll be the first one to say, I'm sorry, but, we have this situation. And you're to be the first one to say, please, go ahead
No,
of
but
me.
Pat's right. Some people think they're entitled because I have this child.
Yeah.
I have a child that's like this. I get to jump the
Yeah, well,
line.
no,
and
you-
some
you
people
can't.
actually use their children.
no,
for,
that's wrong.
That's
No.
I would be more accommodating. My thing is I will. Okay, X amount of percent of the people have problems. Okay, but the vast majority of the people don't. I'm going to accommodate them because my child can be a problem to and take away their pleasure.
True,
So
I
I'm
understand.
going to get my child through first and come early, get it done with.
Well,
because you know when
but
they're.
what you're saying though is that, and I agree with you. I can see both sides of the coin. But
yeah.
for me, here we go again with lawsuits and being politically correct and doing this and that because we can't do this and whatever. The thing is that whatever happened to being a good humanitarian and common courtesy?
I was just going to say,
Courtesy.
we are a society that is,
We forget these
they're
things.
we're no longer courteous. I mean, we
Well,
have no courtesy anymore.
well, but everybody's entitled.
Yeah,
Well,
I
yeah,
have, I
and
have courtesy,
lawsuit,
and I'm
and
going to show you how
lawsuit.
I have courtesy. Ladies, please, we have to take a break.
Oh, gee.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. And now back to Just Between Us.
Hey, you want to get a hold of us? We're at 223-4877, or you can fax us at 223-4866, or you can email us at book me at tspntv.com. Ladies. And Pat brought in something interesting. She's teaching us how to do
Breathing.
deep breathing
Yes.
and cleanse.
Oh, darn, I got dizzy again.
Did you? Oh, no, that's natural.
Well, that's true.
Trust
but I
me.
got a picture. It shows you I got one.
Yeah, really. That's for sure.
I carry it in my wallet.
So, Patricia, the family's doing well.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. Our granddaughter is rowing at Capital Crew.
Really?
She's a freshman in high school, and it's a feeder into Sac State. So,
How
and they actually, their hope. I mean, there's they give scholarships to colleges, and so she likes it.
Fun.
And our younger son rowed crew at Cal for 4 years.
Great. I remember
and she,
you saying
yes,
that.
and the one thing about it is that it's great for doing homework and getting to bed early and not carousing.
You bet. Sports is great.
My dogs and
I
cats are
was just
doing
gonna
really
say,
good.
And I was just going to ask, how are your two little girls doing and your kitty?
Oh, the kitties are doing fine. I still got my old one.
Do you?
Yeah, he's still ticking.
Wow.
The girls are good. Fine. I don't have any grandchildren or anything like
Well,
that.
if-
So I got grandkitties and dogs.
That's all that counts, you know. Something that loves you and someone that you
It's happy
love.
when you come home.
That's exactly it. And says, hurry up
And
and
usually
feed
for
me.
the same reason, I'm hungry.
Hurry up and feed me.
They woof at me. Woof, woof.
Yeah.
You always knew when your kids and your husband's like,
Your
I'm so
husband and
happy
your
you're home.
Kids, husbands, and pets.
Can't find anything in the refrigerator.
It's the same thing. Your
Just
children,
open the door.
your husband, your pets, and your kids. It's like, hi, now what's for dinner?
Yeah, I know.
Oh no! My kids used to say I'd go to the grocery store, $150 worth of groceries, and I would come home and they'd say there's nothing to eat. And I
Yeah,
said,
oh, yeah.
look in the refrigerator, and I finally figured it out. They want to open the refrigerator, have it fall out.
That's right.
Hot. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a great week.
That's true. Of course, $150 worth of groceries now is half a bag.
Yeah. Well, that, and my kids
When
are
you can leave
40